Morning, welcome into Five Clubs here on Golf Channel, and of course PGA Tour Radio Channel 92 on Sirius XM. Great to have you with us on this Wednesday. We call it Getaway Day. I'm Gary Williams, and this program, as you know, is always brought to you by Century Insurance. They do great things in the game of golf with the USGA and with the First Tee. Not to mention what they really do, which is business insurance. If you have those needs, please reach out to Century. They are right by you. Golf Pride, when it comes to grips and all the different options, and when you look at bags of all the buddies you play with, and then when you see the best players in the world pull a club, it's invariably going to be Golf Pride because they are the standard. And of course, Peter Millar, this little Rooney sweater blazer that I've got on today, layered up, or this little cashmere crew neck, or the blue Oxford button down, it's all Peter Millar. Everything you need. There is nobody else who can give you more when it comes to your entire wardrobe, more so than Peter Millar from the retail stores. And of course, at petermillar.com on Wednesday, we got dogs. We got picks too. Last event on the DP World Tour schedule, the DP World Tour Championship in Dubai. It's a glorious thing. You wake up, can't sleep. On a Thursday morning, it's 4 a.m. on the East Coast. Who knows? Tommy Fleetwood's probably playing the 6th hole. Go ahead, put it on right here on Golf Channel, and this is where they will end it. And I've got more on that in just a moment. But joining me today on a Wednesday, Josh Carpenter is going to join me at the bottom of the hour in studio from the Sports Business Journal. If you are interested in the business of golf, nobody covers it better now than Josh does, and he's going to be with me. We'll talk about some of these additions specifically to the fall portion of the schedule, where a lot of people is going, well, God, what's going to happen in the fall? Is it going to go away? No, not so much at all. So we'll talk to him about that, a big decision by the LPGA commissioner. Also the decision by LIV to go to 72 holes, and if this is the tipping point to more significant changes coming to their business model as well. And in less than 15 minutes, guy who's a member of the World Golf Hall of Fame, 21-time winner on the PGA Tour. His last win was up the road in Greensboro at the Wyndham. He was after the age of 50 when he did it. That is Davis Love III. He's going to join me because next week he is the host. He really is always the host. If you go to Sea Island, he's kind of the mayor. I, many years ago, said he's the Don of the Sea Island Mafia. Don't know how much those guys like it. I mean it affectionately, but next week, the last event of the PGA Tour schedule is the RSM. His foundation runs it, and he, of course, is the Pied Piper down there at Sea Island. So he's going to be joining me. We'll talk to him about the event and kind of what it's taken on. During the wraparound portion, it was kind of like, hey, maybe get him a few more starts and accrue some points going into next year. Now, there is something associated with this event. It's not just the final event, it's the finality of people's time on the PGA Tour, and you can never guarantee that you're ever going to get back. So we will talk to Davis Love III about that and a whole host of other things as well. But I'm going to start getting back to the DP World Tour Championship because Rory McIlroy is on the cusp of doing something that only one other player in DP World Tour / European Tour history has done, and that is win what used to be called the Order of Merit now, and I think is a great thing to call it the Harry Vardon Trophy. Harry Vardon, when you consider he is the silhouette of the European Tour, I think it wouldn't be a bad thing if they looked at maybe making Seve that silhouette, whether it is to modernize it or to get people to what is kind of the touchstone in the modern era of that, but that's another conversation for another day. It gets to something that I think we appreciate, but I don't know necessarily that when you look at greatness, if longevity is something that you value as much as I think we should. And longevity for different eras means different things. And I think right now we are seeing somebody play basketball who has been better for longer than everybody else. Doesn't necessarily make him the greatest of all time, but he's been the best for the longest. And that's an extraordinary thing in LeBron James. And you can look at Michael Phelps, and you can look at his first Olympic performance, which was 2004. And his last was in 2016. Do you realize how much can change in terms of what happens to your body, what happens to the next generation of who you used to be? And you look at these young guys jumping in the pool and you're going, can I still beat them? And he did. Katie Ledecky is still doing it as well. Usain Bolt is the only sprinter in Olympic history to win gold in 3 straight games. That is so insane that you can remain the fastest man on the planet for that long. That long. They don't do it every year, as you know. They do it once every 4 years. He was the fastest man in the world for a decade. That's unimaginable. Ted Williams in 1939 hit more than 300 batting average, and I know all you seam heads out there go, batting average doesn't matter anymore. It did when I was growing up, and it did when he was hitting on average 344 for his career. From 1939 to 1958, the worst Ted Williams hit in a season was 317. He also hit more than 400 over the course of a season, 406 specifically. About Roger Federer, from 2004 to the middle of 2010, he appeared in 23 straight Grand Slam semis or better, meaning the finals. In 20 of those 23, he was in the final. You woke up every couple of months, whether it was the Australian and then the French, Wimbledon, and then the US Open, who's in the final? Raj, and he won 13 of them. That's insane as well. And of course, Tiger in the world of golf, for him to be #1 in the world for almost 700 weeks is unimaginable, because right now you have Scottie Scheffler, who has been #1 in the world for a little bit over 100 weeks in a row and a little bit over 150 in total. And to me, in terms of longevity, Jack, from 1962 to 1998, he played 148 straight majors. That is a combination of dumb luck, but beyond that, yes, because he won them all, he had exemptions in all of them except for a US Open because they're different. We're not going to just give you a lifetime pass. Every 10 years, you better be sure you're good enough to play in it. And oh, by the way, in 1962, he won that US Open, which was his first. And in the last year in which he played in all the majors, he didn't play in all 4 in 1998, the Masters of 1998, he was 58. He only finished 6th. Rory McIlroy, I know that these things, because you may not measure them as being that important or that great of an accomplishment, but to win 7 Vardon trophies, which he's on the verge of doing, moves him ahead of Seve and also moves him right on the doorstep of Colin Montgomery. And Colin Montgomery won 8, and he won 7 straight. And when he did it, it was during a 12-year span. If Rory wins this year, which in all likelihood he's going to do, he will expand the elasticity of the first and his most recent by 1 year over Monty and Seve. Seve won his first in 76. He won his last in 1988. So those 12 years for Monty and Seve, now Rory expands it beyond that. But here's one other thing about Rory. And Rory has, whether it's his detractors or people who are not really, in love with him and all the things that he says, and that's fine. I'm not telling you to think or feel differently. What I would like everybody to acknowledge is that starting in 2009, Rory McIlroy entered the top 10 in the world for the first time. And with the exception of 1 year, which was 2017, he's ended the year in the top 10. And in 10 of those years, in the top 3. To do that, considering that very few others have done that, obviously Tiger did it, and Ernie Els did it, and VJ did it, but to finish in the top 3 for 10 of those years, we're in the year of 2025, and he entered the top 10 in 2009. And Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka, and you can look at Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth, and they have seen the summit. They've seen world #1. But anybody knows that staying in the top 10 every single year, year after year after year, and well more than a decade, is really an amazing thing to do, because it speaks to, yes, your ability physically to remain healthy enough to be competitive enough. It is not competitive enough to keep a job. It's to be competitive enough to essentially say, I'm still as good as almost anybody, or I am as good as anybody, for more than a decade and a half. 2009, and here we are at the end of 2015. So he's going to get probably to 7 and move ahead of Seve and be on the doorstep of Monty. And the other thing that I don't take for granted in this age, one, there's more depth, and two, this is the human condition. And when you look at that bank statement, and I don't know how often he looks at it, but he knows he's got a lot. And that can affect you because you get to a certain period in your life where just for a day or two or over the course of a year, you don't commit as much. And that erosion is shown over time. And time shows in that world ranking. He's lived in the top 10 for more than 15 years. You know who else did it for a long, long time? Davis Love III, 9 straight years in the top 10 in the world. Among the many reasons he's in the World Golf Hall of Fame. He joins me next to talk about the event that he helped build and spawn and foster, and it remains today. And it has a different texture now than it did when it was founded in 2010, the RSM, the final event next week at his home at Sea Island. He joins me next on a Wednesday. 5 Clubs on Golf Channel and PGA Tour Radio Sirius XM, Channel 92. Back with Davis Love III right after this. Back in this Wednesday edition of 5 Clubs Golf Channel. You can also listen PGA Tour Radio Channel 92 on Sirius XM. This segment brought to you by Century Insurance. Business insurance needs are met by Century. All right, joining me now, he's a member of the World Golf Hall of Fame, 21 wins on the PGA Tour, twice a Ryder Cup captain. He reopened a golf course he's had more success on than anybody because his design firm was entrusted to restore it. In many ways, we're going to get to that, but he's going to be the host next week. Last event of the PGA Tour schedule of 2025, of course, that is the RSM. Davis Love III, my friend, good morning. How you feeling?
Good morning. Like the rest of my tournament staff, we're a little sleepy right now. It's a busy ramp up to the tournament next week, but we're getting excited and ready to host the PGA Tour here at St. Simon's in Sea Island, Georgia. You know, Davis, I've never associated your home with tension, but now because of the way the schedule is, I mean, there's some real gravity. I got to believe that you mentioned your staff, that your staff and you got to feel great about the storylines that are going to be coming there. You renewed at the beginning of this year through 2028. You got to be thrilled with the setting and what you have on the line next week, aren't you? Yeah, it's, guys playing for their job is always entertaining, Guys are trying to get obviously ranked higher, whatever the status they want. But the guys fighting for their job for a chance to play on the PGA Tour next year is always interesting. And, we're excited about the fall, especially since the PGA Tour just announced a new event in Asheville, North Carolina. So it's great to see that the fall is still meaningful. I liked it when it was the wraparound season when we started off the year, but our fans here, our sponsors, RSM, and the players that play here love the RSM Classic, so we're thrilled to be extended for a few more years. Yeah, Davis, to the point you just made about Asheville, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on in the show, I think that when Brian Rolap spoke at the Tour Championship and he used the term scarcity, you're going, what does that exactly mean? And you're thinking that there might be some peril to the fall, and I don't know what's going to happen in Napa. I don't know what's going to happen in Mississippi. But in that same time, we know about Austin now. We know about Asheville. So it feels like it's been fortified with potential replacements, and you like that, right? Well, I like the fact that Brian, I've had a couple conversations with him. I like the fact that he's checking all the boxes. He came out and visited us on the Champions Tour and said, wow, Champions Tour is really good, and let's see if we can get it to make money. I think he wants every aspect of the business to get better, is my feeling. We're obviously in the design business. We're working at TPC Sawgrass the guys in the maintenance barn are excited. That tells you something about the energy of the PGA Tour. Is we're announcing new tournaments. The staff that's there are excited about a new energy. So yeah, I'm excited for the fall. I'm excited for the RSM Classic. Look, we're a special event because we have a great sponsor. RSM loves coming to Sea Island. Their clients love coming to Sea Island. We give a lot of money to charity. As you and I were talking before, I was just at Hilton Head. Stan Smith, the Hall of Fame tennis player, is on the board of the Heritage Foundation. He was shocked at how much money our little tournament has given to charity. We're important to a lot of people, and we want to keep that going. And we're excited that Brian Rolap and the staff is excited about the fall as well.
You know, Davis, you were on the tour 10 years when Tiger joined the tour. And then when he became what he became, which didn't take very long, when he played, everything seemed elevated. And now with the Signature Series, it is kind of by definition. Do you like the idea that there is this series that has shorter fields? Half of them don't have cuts. Are you a fan of that?
Well, I think Tiger would probably agree with me. I'm not sure about the no cuts, but I'm sure about getting the top players to play together more. Even when Jack and Arnie were the stars, they didn't play 40 events.
Yep.
They played maybe 20 events. Whoever, the Fred Couples or Nick Prices, they didn't play 40 events. So Brian's right. We need to elevate everything on the PGA Tour, and we need some excitement about every event. Now, how do we do that? There's great golf on the Korn Ferry Tour. There's great golf on the Champions Tour. Just how do we get more people to watch it? And obviously, that translates to dollars to charity, and it translates to dollars to the players, because the more people that watch it, the more commercials they sell, et cetera, et cetera.
You mentioned Stan Smith. You were at Harbour Town. I mentioned all the success you had there, your first win there in '87. You and your design team were entrusted to go in there and do a restoration. I was reading about it, but I want you to explain to everybody, look, that's a Signature Series event right after the Masters, what it was that you guys were trying to achieve there. I know you were, and by the way, for all those young people going, Stan Smith played tennis? I thought he just sold sneakers. He's one of the great sneaker salesmen of all time, and you played golf with him yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah, Stan Smith is not a shoe. He's actually a Hall of Fame tennis player. That's a pretty good golfer, and his wife's a really good golfer. They're real people. But yeah, Stan does a lot for charity through tennis and through golf, and as a big part of the Heritage Foundation up there at Hilton Head. But yeah, our design firm was chosen to help lead a team of great people at Harbour Town, Sea Pines, McCurrick
Yep.
Golf. A bunch of people had a lot of input on preserving Pete Dye's historic golf course. We didn't change it. We added a few things that were there a long time ago, solid wall bunkers, and made it a little bit more difficult for the pros maybe, but a little friendlier for the average guy. So it's just a big refresh and an honor to Pete and Alice Dye and preserving their treasure up there at Harbour Town. You
know, Davis, if I ever get a chance to chat with you, and I know that the viewers and listeners are curious, because you were so immersed in the team culture, not just the Ryder Cup. You captained both the President's Cup and the Ryder Cup. And it's not based on the result of Bethpage, but just in general, when you look at the path forward on the USA side, is there anything that you would tweak or alter in any way?
I'd figure out how to putt like the Europeans did Friday, Saturday at Bethpage. Be the first thing. Our analytics team told me a lot of stories about tee to green on Saturday. We won, and we lost a whole bunch of points because they putted so incredibly well. Now you go back to Hazeltine.
Yeah,
our team putted unbelievably. We made so many birdies the first 2 days at Medina. We putted unbelievably. But then you go to Valderrama, all the way back in '97, Tiger Woods and Davis Love and Justin Leonard won majors, but we didn't putt any good. How do we elevate our game when we show up at the Ryder Cup like we do when we show up at a major championship? I think we put too much pressure on ourselves in the Ryder Cup, and we free it up, as Bob Rotella says, in the President's Cup. So we just need a little attitude adjustment, and that's it. There's a lot of little things we can do to help the team play better, and as captains, we just need to do that and get them out onto the golf course.
But one of the things that you did was, even after you captained the team twice, you went back and you were one of Steve Stricker's vice captains. The continuity of the brain trust, you do believe there's value in that, right?
Yes, and I think we and I'm part of that, we slipped a little bit. I talked to Keegan a little bit, but I wasn't involved. He brought in Jim Furyk, but we didn't quite have that momentum that we got in 2014-15 of a new, fresh idea and everybody communicating. I think going forward, we just need a little reboot of our plan, and that's to be understood. No sports organization ever just sits still. I think we need to just a little bit of energy going into Ireland. Obviously, we haven't won an away game in a long time. That's going to give us some energy. And, when they announce a captain and when they start talking about it, we got Brandt Snedeker as President's Cup captain. We're going to have a lot of excitement about that over the next year. And then we'll shift to getting excited about going to Ireland.
Do you think it's plausible that Brandt could do both? If, let's say, my position is it's Tigers when he wants it, but if Brandt captains at Medina, could he captain the following year at Adair Manor?
Yeah, Brandt has a lot of respect, especially after the last 2 years of the players. Everybody's always loved Brandt Snedeker. That's why he was chosen to be President's Cup captain and assistant for Keegan. But they saw him for 2 years, help Keegan run the show. And they ran a great show. Trust me, I was on the edge of the bubble. They ran a great program. We just got out-putted incredibly. The greens got soft. All these things happened. But we flat out got out-putted for some reason. And that's not really, Brandt did everything he could to get those guys ready. And I think the players know that. A lot of the players inside the team room tell me they've never tried so hard for their captain, Keegan Bradley. So part of the problem is they were trying too hard. But yeah, I think Brandt's leadership, Webb Simpson is an unbelievable leader on and off the golf course. We've got good people in there. I think, behind the scenes, whatever Tiger does, whatever Davis does, whatever Steve Stricker does, we need to do it behind the scenes and give the next group a little bit more information and a little bit more support. But I was excited about everything at Bethpage except for the final score.
Yeah, the ascent of Scottie, I'm curious from you. You saw the beginning. He hadn't won yet when he was on the team at Whistling Straits, so you have the week there with him. You captained him the following year after he has this monster year, and he may not have necessarily had a great week at Quail Hollow, whatever. What's the most enviable thing about how he does what he does from your eyes?
Well, I think just the consistency of not only hard work, but results. I mean, that team in 2016 or in 2020 at Whistling Straits, they told us Scottie Scheffler was about to blow up, and wow. he was the guy, and he certainly was there at Whistling Straits, and he has been ever since. The only things that have stopped him are doing dishes and getting put in jail. He's been great ever since Whistling Straits. They were right. So I think Scottie, what he does off the golf course quietly is incredible. He's a strong Christian. He's a great father. He's a great friend. He's just as good as it gets. And we have a bunch of guys like that on the PGA Tour right now. It's incredible. The young guys on the tour are great leaders on and off the golf course. I'm excited. Scottie is obviously a future Hall of Famer, a future captain of both teams. Yeah. He's a leader, and the guys rallied around him certainly at Bethpage. So hopefully we see a lot more Scottie in the team room for a long time.
I was lucky enough to be with Jack Nicklaus Sunday night, and Jim Furyk was there, Chris DeMarco, Ken Duke. We were talking about, it wasn't about the good old days, but Jack is always interesting when he talks about how simple he tried to keep it. And a couple things, not only with Jack Kraut, but also that his father, Charlie, let him do what he wanted to do. Your relationship with your dad he was your instructor. I've never asked you this. At any point of your young life with him, did you ever feel like he wanted it more for you than you wanted it for you?
No, he was always, he had a great line. He said, let's just see how good you can get. He never pushed me. Now, when I asked for instruction, he told me how to do it and how long to do it, but he didn't force anything. And I always say about kids, when somebody asks me, hey, I'm trying to get my kid interested in golf, and they don't seem that interested, I said, do you let them drive the cart? Do you let them play with the sand and fill the divots? And they go, oh, no, no, no. I'll go, that's your problem. My dad let me play in the bunkers, fish balls out of the creek, and fish on the golf course while I was playing golf, and made it fun. And so, no, he never insisted that I play golf, but I also got great instruction. And when I asked for a lesson, he made me do it and pointed me in the right direction. Jack was the most prepared golfer until Tiger Woods. He did everything he had to do to be the most prepared, the most confident, and he did keep it simple. And I think Tiger, the great ones, do keep it simple. They just do the same thing over and over and work harder than most people.
Give everybody an idea of your week next week. You were telling me, you're like, I got this. Give everybody an idea of your week next week.
Well, Todd Thompson, our tournament director, does a great job. He gives me from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. off every day next week to catch a little sleep. But it's a fun week for everybody. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. Our tournament office is in the old clubhouse of the Sea Island Golf Club. It's a bunch of family in there and a bunch of friends. It's a lot of work, but it's fun. But I do have a party almost every night, and hits with the Golf Channel during the day, and 2 pro-ams. So it's a busy week. My golf game, the big pressure is getting my golf game ready in the next 5 days to show off on the golf course with the kids. But it's a busy week. But when we finish on Sunday night or Monday and we talk about all the money we gave to charity and it's all over, it's a lot of fun, and it's a rewarding experience for me and for my team that really does all the work.
All right, let's get Davis Love out of here. 5 quick questions to go. You got on the Carolina Blue Top today. You beat Gary Woodland's Jayhawks last Friday in the Smith Center. But let me ask you this. The best game you ever saw in Carmichael Auditorium, for the youngins, Carmichael was, that place was Cameron Indoor before Cameron Indoor. Best game you ever saw in person at Carmichael?
I would say one of the times I got to see Lynn Bias play against the incredible Tar Heel teams that were there when I was there, 82 to 85. But, again, people forget how great Lenny Bias was. He was going to be another Michael Jordan level player. So anytime he came to Carmichael, that was unbelievable. The whole time I was there, we had so many NBA players in that gym. It was thrill. And I had a Carolina blue button-up jacket that said Usher on it. So I got a pretty good view of a lot of those games.
All right, the best dressed player on tour when you got your card, who was it?
Well, it was always Payne Stewart, just because he stepped out a little bit, He wore the knickers, but he always looked great. And he was ahead of Ian Poulter on buying clothes, or Darren Clark, who spent so much money on clothes. And he took it to the next level. Now, he did respect that I got linked up with Polo early on, and I did not dress well. They dressed me well. But certainly Payne, and even to this day, I see people in knickers playing golf, and they do it just because of Payne Stewart.
Yeah, no question. All right, what is your favorite meal on St. Simon's Island? Not only where, but specifically what?
Wow, that's hard because I have so many friends in the food business. But I'm always going to say Southern Soul, and my favorite thing there is pastrami on Thursdays, which is kind of off the board. It's a special. It takes a week to make it, and it's unbelievable. I'm not supposed to be eating salt or too much meat, and then I get this giant pastrami sandwich on Thursday. Steve Milnick and I will, if you want to run into me and Steve Milnick, you need hang around Southern Soul on Thursday, looking for the pastrami.
All right, very good. Your favorite golf course to study golf architecture. If you're there, you find yourself distracted and looking at bunkers, sight lines, green complexes. What's your favorite golf course when it comes to design?
Well, that's a good one. I would say right now, because they have an incredible video of the work at Seminole, and you can see how much actual work goes under the ground building a golf course. That's always a good one. You know, it's had a few touch-ups here or there, but Seminole is just a classic routing on a small piece of property. But then I love looking at the Rayner McDonald stuff. So anything that they did, my team would say I would head for the square fronts of greens and rectangular bunkers pretty quick. So I like studying that old stuff.
All right, so we go from the old to the new. What is your favorite golf course built in this century?
That one's easy. It's it could be a lot of Ben Crenshaw courses.
Yes.
But the one he built for Johnny Morris in Branson is absolutely incredible. I was playing it with Lee Jansen in a practice round, and I texted Ben on the 11th hole. I said, "This is already in my top 10, Ben." Ozark National is just, it's Kapalua, but bigger
Wow.
views. It's incredible. It's a great golf course. It's fun to play. You could study architecture there all day long. It's a neat golf course. And of the new stuff that I've played, and you got to remember, Gary, I don't get out much.
No, I know.
Like, I've never been to Bandon Dunes. So I've been to Sand Valley. I've been a few places. Hoopie's right up the road, and I've never played it. So I'm a bad one to ask, but I love Ben Crenshaw's work.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what Johnny and his team have done there. It's Disneyland, it's Universal Studio. I mean, if you like golf, what they've got out there now is off the charts. And you mentioned Bill and Ben's work, but all these other wonderful designs that they have sprinkled around, great accommodations. They love golf. Listen, I know how much you have coming up. You're awfully kind off of yesterday to carve out time for me this morning. Thanks so much. I look forward to being down there next week, hopefully seeing you, shaking your hand, saying hello. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks. See you next week.
Okay, there's Davis Love III again. RSM final event of the calendar year, final event for a lot of guys when it comes to employment, PGA Tour, full status, conditional, whatever it may be. Quick break, we come back. Josh Carpenter joins me, Sports Business Journal, a lot of stuff going on, including what Davis said about the added event up in Asheville, what that might mean as well for the fall going forward for the PGA Tour. We're back with you right after this. Welcome back to Five Clubs here, Golf Channel. And again, Channel 92, Sirius XM's PGA Tour Radio. Joining me now from the Sports Business Journal. In this segment brought to you by Peter Millar. All your needs, lifestyle needs, whatever it is you need, they've got it for you. Peter Millar, petermillar.com. Josh Carpenter covers the business of golf. We're lucky that he is local. He was on Golf Central last week. He comes in periodically with us. You may see more of him in 2026. All right, let's get to some things. I just had Davis Love on, and he's like, yeah, gosh, Asheville, that's good. Fall, we like it.
Great.
You've been on the leading edge, a lot of these stories. This particular event gives everybody a pretty good indication that the fall is not going anywhere, right?
Yeah, I don't think it is. And obviously, Gary, like we were talking in the prior segment with Davis, Brian Rolap just joined the tour this summer. So
yep.
You got to think this Asheville event was in the mix before this summer. Same with the Good Championship
yes.
in Austin. So yeah, but I'll say maybe the SSG investors started talking about they've been on board for almost 2 years now. So yeah, I don't know that the fall is going anywhere. There are some questions about, the Mississippi event.
Yep.
Our friend Bob Herrig reported that the Procore deal is up for that Napa event. So maybe you have 2 events that are coming in and maybe filling 2 other events that are going away. We know Mexico Open is moving from the main schedule to the fall next
yep.
year. So yeah, I don't think it's going away. Maybe it's just reimagined, and maybe more of an emphasis is put on, maybe Rolap reimagines the main tour. More so it's, signature events, more signature events that we've seen. And maybe the fall is the place where some of these, I don't want to say lower level players, but your 75 to 125 can really play their way into next year.
Yeah, if you look at the fact that, these fall events are not going to offer up a Masters invitation.
Sure.
That was a decision to start giving National Opens invitations in lieu of the fall series. If you look at the purses, they're lower. Look, that a lot of these things are going to be, is it profitable or is it not? It does. I mean, it doesn't mean that it has to go away if we can't find a way to make it profitable. Do you think that when you look at the fall, that employment can be for the people in this narrow lane? I find it appealing. I find it enthralling. Why can't that be the texture of what it is Labor Day to Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I think it totally can. And if you look at what Roll App's probably trying to do, he's looking at making, how do you make 20 players championships during the regular season? That's such a great event in Florida. How do we make 20 of those around Pebble, around Riviera, around all these others? But then, and so that's where your big name guys are playing. But then the fall is about how do these guys get into those events the following year? Everyone loves an underdog story. These scrappy guys, you hear about Michael Brennan the other week winning at the Utah Championship. Like, everyone loves to see that. So why not build those storylines around the fall events? I think that's probably maybe the direction they're going in.
So what about the beginning of the year? Century not being played this year, Sony in its last year. Do you have a sense of what happens to Hawaii?
Yeah, it's tough to say, Gary. I mean, if you look at that press release that the PGA Tour put out when they announced that Century was not being played, it talks about like logistical issues of getting stuff to Hawaii out there to stage that tournament, and you talk about profitability. Are those events profitable? So it's tough to get out there.
Yep.
It's already a limited field. I love that event. That's one of my favorite events of the season. I love, it's cold here on the East Coast. I love tuning in and watching that. But as you mentioned, Sony's deal to sponsor the Sony Open is up after next year. By all accounts, it doesn't seem like Sony is going to renew that deal. So, like, can they get another sponsor on there? If they don't, though, a lot of people in the industry are talking about, could the PGA Tour just not start its season in Hawaii?
Right.
And there's not a Sony Open and there's not a Century in Hawaii. Maybe the Century moves somewhere else. But there is a lot of talk kind of in golf circles about the potential of 2027 starting elsewhere, not in Hawaii.
Yeah, they are playing golf at Kapalua again. The golf course is reopened.
The golf course has reopened.
Yeah, so again, whether there is a drop dead date on whether whether you can do it or not and what that period is, it's not quite the middle of November and they're playing golf there and the event wouldn't be conducted there for another 6-7 weeks.
I'll say Champions Tour is still going to Hawaii.
They are.
They're still going there. So it's not like the tour won't have a presence in Hawaii.
Correct. Liv going to 72 holes. I go back and I look at your timeline. I think it was August 22nd. You put something out there basically saying, look for Liv to possibly go to 72 holes. It's official. What does this signify? The first of several potential changes that you think might be coming for them?
Well, I think it's one of several that have already happened. You look at the move to 72. You look at some of these promotions events that they've added. They've added, more pathways via other means.
Yep.
I think it's all in the idea of getting the OWGR points. Now, I don't think if you go back like 72 holes or 54 holes in the prior case wasn't the reason that Liv did not get
Correct.
OWGR points. It was they didn't have many pathways into Liv.
That's
it was
the primary.
only.
That is the primary hang-up with the OWGR. There are 27 tours around the world that are trying to get into the artery, and in the absence of them believing that it was absolutely a closed shop, that was by far the biggest barrier. The 54, there could be accommodations
There are
made.
54-hole tours that have points.
Absolutely.
So I don't think moving to 72 was the sole reason, like, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to get OWGR, but I think it does help. And I think, frankly, Andy Johnson from the Fried Egg brought this up last week. It makes Liv more appealing because now there aren't so many. If you're another player on the PGA Tour, what's the real gimmick of going to Liv? What is it at this point? If they get OWGR, what's the real difference?
Look, I don't like shotgun starts for elite championship golf. That's a gimmick. In my mind,
but outside of the shotgun
you can say it's
starts,
a convenience and it works for the TV window, and I get that. But to me, if you've got a 2-shot lead, having a 2:42 p.m. tee time on a Sunday, you earn it. But what you also earn is the tension associated with that. So anyway.
Totally agree, but outside of that, there aren't too many other gimmicks left with Live, I wouldn't say.
I'm
so
with you.
it's more, it would be more appealing to PGA Tour players to say, well, I'll go and play over there. So I think it could make it more appealing potentially.
Okay, LPGA, Craig Kessler, the decision to partner with Aramco, which by extension is the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. This is his first big decision. Fair to say that?
Yeah, I think so. By all accounts, talking to people who have gotten to know Craig from his time at the PGA of America and from his time since he joined the LPGA just 100 days or so ago, he's a deal maker. And he moves at what some are calling a breakneck speed. The guy's got endless energy. He's 40 years old. He's
looks 20.
He looks 20.
And I mean that in a complimentary way.
But he has said from the beginning that he would be willing to have discussions with people who are willing to invest in the women's game. This was something in terms of talking with the Saudis that the prior commissioner was not really willing to do. And so Craig has come in and he's a deal maker. He's done this deal with Aramco for that event out in Las Vegas. He secured a title sponsorship for their Founders Cup, Fortinet, out in California for next year,
Which has been challenging since the beginning.
That's a big deal. He made a move back in the summer to move the Scottish Open from streaming only to linear television on a Sunday because Lottie Woad was leading that tournament heading into Sunday, and they were able to make a quick decision Saturday night into Sunday to get that on linear TV. So he's going to make big decisions. Some of them might ruffle people, might make some people feel uncomfortable, but he's going to make big decisions. And I think he has a lot of good things that he can put into the LPGA and really build that tour up into what it could be because it's got a ton of potential.
Last one, Golf Channel games. We know the rosters now. Scheffler and Rory. You get those guys in the middle of December, a week before Christmas. The reboot of Big Break. Are we seeing Versant showing their programming vision early on? Are we seeing this with?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're going to build it across a number of things. It's morning programming, throughout the week.
God love them.
Yeah, that's what we live for, right, Gary? It's morning programming. It's programming like Golf Channel games, like Big Break, as you mentioned, and then it's live sports. You look at, they were part of that USGA deal. It wasn't just NBC.
Right.
That was Versant's first real big deal. Rights deal. Since they were created. So yeah, I think this is just one leg of the stool, live programming, shoulder programming, different golf events like you're seeing with Golf Channel games. And yeah, it's all part of it. They're just building up to kind of this start in 2026 when they're really going to get things rolling.
No doubt about it. More time with you, much more time coming up. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for coming in as always.
Same to you, Gary. Always a pleasure.
All right, very good. We continue here. We got dogs, we got picks on a Wednesday here on 5 Clubs. Back right after this. We're back on this Wednesday. Yes, it is time for dogs, and this segment is brought to you by Golf Pride. The grips that Golf Pride has, they have more options, and I mean through the bag, including that reverse taper putter grip series, and that's why more players, not even close, at every level trust Golf Pride through the bag. So you saw the Open. We do it every single Wednesday. If you have a dog that you take to the golf course, if you have a dog that watches golf, if they have any kind of connection to the game, and there are more in this country we're finding out because we've been doing this since the beginning of the year than we even thought. So send your dog, send a video, send photos, give us a little bio blast on your dog, where you are, and we will put that dog right here on this program on a Wednesday. Dogs at 5clubsgolf.com. So let's get to them. Our dogs of the week, and we start with Bronco. What a great looking yellow English lab that is. Bronco is 8. That's Beth Collins' dog. His favorite place to run is on the golf course, looking at any type of balls he can find, named after the Denver Broncos. That is Circuit, Paul Baker's dog, a 3-year-old rescue pit bull. The golf course, his favorite place at El Prado Golf Course in Chino, California. Those are Mark Lance's dogs. The Golden Retriever is Rosie, the German Short-haired Pointer is Sam, and the Great Dane is PETA. That's Hillcrest Country Club in Indianapolis, Indiana. Go, doggy, go. That is Rio. That is Dr. Edgar Pyle's dog. Rio is getting on the golf cart playing at Aspen Glen Club in Colorado. You can see the great fall colors. And finally, that is Brisket. That is Chris and Shannon Henderson's dog, a rescue from Savannah. His favorite place, you know it, that lighthouse, that is Harbortown Golf Links, racing across the 18th hole. And just for Brisket's sake, I hope that Davis Love III and his great design team did everything they could to make sure that Brisket is not unhappy about the changes made to the Harbortown Golf Links that he unveiled yesterday. All right, let's get to our picks. We're just going to do Dubai. Next week, we will do picks for the RSM. This, the last event on the DP World Tour schedule, so it is, in fact, the DP World Tour Championship. Fleetwood for me, lots of Rory, the Rory quad box there for Johnson, Gill, Jay, and Taylor. Brendan goes with Tyrrell Hatton, Emma with Nikolai Højgaard. So those are the picks, and of course you got golf early in the morning in Dubai starting tomorrow morning. We're back on Monday. A whole week of great instructors, Teachers Week here on 5 Clubs. For all of us here at the program, have a great rest of your week. We'll see you next Monday.